Hey, David, what's going on?
We're ready to start. Go ahead.
Hi, Robin. Hey, is it just me, you, and Robin?
No, there's 5 people on, and I'm about to go live on Facebook. So just start talking and just tell people if they ask questions, they should use the chat function. Maybe send everyone a message. Just say hi I'll read the questions to you when you're ready. But
All right.
just go ahead. I'm going to mute myself.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to my kitchen. Welcome to Beth Jacob Young Professionals Virtual University. I am sitting here at my house, hiding from viruses, God willing, and trying to use up my flour before Passover. So what I decided to do with a little prompting from my friends is show people how to make challah, hopefully with their kids, although my kids aren't here with me right this second. So what we're going to do is we're going to make challah in a Cuisinart. Now, you have to use a big Cuisinart, like a 14 cup, but if you don't have one, that's fine. Just mix all the same ingredients in, and instead of kneading for 60 seconds by your watch, you're going to knead your dough for 20 minutes by hand. What I'm going to do first is I am going to take my flour. This is 4.5 cups of better for bread flour. Bread flour is great, but if you already finished your bread flour and you just have all-purpose flour, you can use that. Whole wheat is a different story, but either of the two white flours is the same story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this into my Cuisinart. And there's my 4.5 cups of flour. Then I'm going to put in, about 1/8 of a cup of sugar, which is 2 tablespoons. I'm going to put in a tablespoon of yeast. You can put in a little more than a tablespoon if you want it to rise quicker. And then I'm going to put in 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. And kosher salt is great because it's very flaky and fluffy, and you tend to use less of it. But if you're using regular Morton's iodized salt, you're going to use about 1 teaspoon. So here we go. Those are what we're going to call the dry ingredients. And I'm so excited. My niece Zoe is watching us. Okay, so here we go. We're going to put the lid on the Cuisinart. And sorry, mine was already ready to go. You're going to take a measuring cup like this. You're going to first put in an egg, a raw egg, and then you're going to put in oil, about 3 tablespoons. Now, if you don't eat eggs, you could just put in about 1/2 cup of oil. And that won't be the same, but it'll be analogous. Now you've got in your measuring cup 1/2 cup of liquid. This is what we're calling our liquid. And I'm going to add lukewarm water to just shy of 2 cups. 1 sec.
So we're making challah.
Soon. Oh. So are we on? Are we going? Should I go now?
I'll be honest with you, Debbie. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'd rather someone come and tell me what to make for dinner tonight.
Great idea.
I need more dinner ideas.
Dinner ideas are good. Oh, my wish has been granted. My niece, my cat niece is in front of me now.
Your cat niece?
Yes, Zoe's cat is waving to me all the way from New York.
Oh.
and they are making challah with us. So what are we doing, folks? What are we making tonight for dinner? Are we having Indian chicken soup like me? I'm having an Ayurvedic cold remedy of a chicken soup that's infused with cardamom pods, cinnamon, turmeric, ginger, jalapenos, and chicken.
Any vegetables?
Jalapenos, only one, just to be nice to people, and tomatoes, and and rice, although that's more like a grain, I guess. But yes, carrots, tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a vitamin C soup.
Sounds great.
It's great. It's supposed to be a cold remedy. If you crank up the aromatics, it's quite something. Oh no, I touched my screen and I lost you. David, I lost everybody. Oh no, I'm in so much trouble.
You can't have lost everybody. I'm here.
Hey David, I'm gone. What am I supposed to do?
I think
I went to take a phone call. What should I do? Uh-oh.
click
Oh.
on your box. I think there's a blue thing there you touch.
Michelle, look at you.
I don't know. I'm just playing.
Love
with
it.
Oh,
Sure.
no, no. No, we've done it. Oh, the host has asked me to start my video later. What should I say?
You're back.
No, but there's a thing in the middle of my screen. It says the host has asked me to start your video.
Hold on. I'll ask the host.
I think that's David.
1 minute.
Well, they're saying host with a capital H.
Yeah, Harriet is David's wife.
David.
So what do I do? I'll just press OK and see what
No,
happens.
listen. Debbie is not on. She needs to get back on.
No, she is on. I can see her.
Can't see you. That's video and
Oh,
audio.
he said he turned you back on.
Yeah, she's on. I see her.
That's not. That is all on. Your video and
Listen,
audio.
Debbie doesn't have a clue, but she's really trying.
Oh, there she is. Debbie, I see you.
Hi. Okay, so what are we doing? Are we starting?
Yeah.
Are you Karen?
Sorry?
Nothing. No idea.
Should I just observe you or do this also?
I put $5 in the push card.
Michelle? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I need a recipe. I suppose I should do it as well.
You need a recipe for what?
I mean, are we gonna watch her or do this?
She didn't start. We're waiting for everybody to come.
I know, but like, should I be observing or should I be doing it?
You have your stuff. Oh, you need to know what to have? Maybe tell her, Debbie.
Hey, you
didn't
know,
hear.
I got an idea. Robin, David, somebody?
Yeah.
I'm here, sorry. I got 1 or 2 more people trying to get over.
Everybody's talking. You know,
I'll
everybody.
mute everybody, don't worry.
Yeah, my niece is not, but everybody else is talking at me.
So, could I just say something?
Sure, you can. We can't stop you. Go
So,
ahead.
Harriet doesn't know what she needs to have. I don't know if there's other people like that.
Okay, so let's talk about it. What you need to have is flour. And the best flour to have is bread flour because it's before Passover. Some people don't have that. So if what you've got is all-purpose flour, we'll work with it. You need, and this is the dry ingredients in order of content. So you need flour, you need sugar, unless you don't like it. You need yeast, which is a rapid rise yeast, and you need salt. That's our smallest quantity. Those are our 3 dry ingredients in order of quantity. We have wet ingredients, which include an egg, unless you don't eat eggs, in which case put in oil for the amount of an egg, and then oil, and then a whole lot of water to make almost 2 cups. That's all you need. And energy. And a working oven. And a pan or 2.
And a what?
A pan or 2 to put the bread in to bake it.
Wie hört man? Oh.
What happens if I only what? Okay.
What happens if I only have active dry yeast, not rapid?
Say it again. What happens if I only have what?
Active dry yeast. I don't have rapid, only active.
Oh, you know, you can watch it. Probably it's the same thing. It might be a little slower. You're watching for the size. That's right. Yeah. So, you know, the other thing that really helps is something like Pam or oil to grease the pan, or failing that, parchment or a sill pad.
Can I just ask, Harriet, do you mind putting your microphone on mute?
Ooh,
Um,
harsh.
Harriet? Harriet?
I did. I'll do it again.
I can still hear you.
Laat ik de computer on mute. De computer on mute. No, I mean, they shouldn't be able to read though. Yeah?
David, can you just mute everybody?
Hey, if you want, I can do this in mine.
Not you,
Oh,
everybody else.
trying to help. So since we have everybody that's here early, can we say that the treats that they get because they came on time? Sure. So basically, there's a couple things regarding bread, which I always tell people if I have time. So I'm going to pretend like I have time. The first thing is it's always great to wear something that keeps your hair out of your face so it doesn't fall in the dough. The second thing is it's always great to wear clothes that are kind of light in color because you might get covered with flour and have to do something quickly thereafter. So I tend to wear stuff like this. Aprons are great if you think of them. I didn't think of it. So that's that. Now, what else? Can I just keep talking as long as we're here, or what should we do?
Yep, keep talking.
Keep talking. Okay, so basically, we're going into Passover. Now, obviously, I'm a layperson, but what I was going to say is that, you know, we're going into the unleavened bread week, right? The week of the matzah. And it's important, you know, to kind of, we'll use this flour, right? And we'll create beautiful breads and they'll taste great and it'll be really fun and we'll be feeding people, which is always great. And then we don't, right? And then we don't. So I think that part of the interesting thing about bread and leavened bread in general is it may very well be something, I can't say for sure, I haven't asked our local archaeologist, but it may well be something that we picked up in Mesopotamia or Egypt, because those are the places in the world that first found out that if you let grain sit around, it will ferment and it will intoxicate people or poison them depending on the fermentation. And that fermented thing can be added to flour and water and rise. And then you've got bread. And you've got this wonderful thing that you can take with you and it will feed people. And it's cooked, it's digested. It's not like eating, you know, twigs and stuff like that, whatever folks were eating before. So it's really sort of a wonderful thing. And, you know, I think it's really appropriate before Passover to be making bread and realizing that bread wasn't usually leavened in those days. It was usually flat. So I guess it's a very retro holiday to the tune of thousands of years, which is really wonderful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask, how are we doing? Are we almost hooked up, Robin? Uh-oh. Looks like we got cast adrift.
No. We're good. I think we should just move ahead.
You guys should put on an apron.
I think you should.
I see people upping their game. I'll be right back. All right, everybody. It's my Beverly Liggett challah baking from 5771, but because she made a petite one that year, it has become my huge favorite. So here we go. And everybody put on their aprons and we are going to be ready. What we're going to do is either in a mixing bowl, if you don't have a big Cuisinart, or in the mixing bowl of your Cuisinart, the work bowl, put in 4½ cups of flour, preferably bread or regular white flour, 2-3 tablespoons of sugar. If you don't use sugar, maple sugar is fine. It will flavor it. There are other sweet things you can use. Yeast, a fat tablespoon, and salt, a scant tablespoon. All those go into your Cuisinart, pulse, so it kind of mixes. Or if it's in a mixing bowl, just mix it up with your hands a little bit. And then in a separate cup, you're going to do your liquid ingredients, which are an egg, a little bit of oil, and it's 3 tablespoons of oil, no more. If you don't eat eggs, for the vegans out there, you can always add oil to the quantity of that egg. Now, if you don't eat sugar and you'd rather use a liquid sweetener like a honey or a agave, that becomes part of your liquid. And your liquid is dictated by the quantity of your solid. Your solid's 4½ cups. Your liquid is just shy of 2 cups, whether or not it contains a sweetener like maple syrup or agave or whatever syrupy sort of sweet thing you have. Now, here's what's going to happen. I have a Cuisinart. I'm going to pour my liquid into it, and I'm going to look at the second hand on my watch, and I'm going to go only 60 seconds, because 60 seconds in a Cuisinart is equivalent to 20 minutes of kneading. Now, here goes. I'm going to turn this on, and I'm sorry if it's obnoxious.
How much
Can you
water?
hear it? You pour in your liquid kind of slowly, and there it goes. And it goes all the way in. And what's going to happen is it's going to form a ball and turn around and around. And that ball, once it starts going around, 60 seconds on the watch. So this is going to be 60 seconds of noise. Sorry, but it's better than 20 minutes of kneading like this. So there we go. So we are going here for a full 60 seconds, and that will give us our beautiful dough. Now, if you're kneading it by hand, your dough will start out sticky and lumpy, but it will end up just silky smooth. So just persevere, and it'll be fine. If you find that you need to add a little more water, that's okay. If it's all gummy and you need to add a little more flour, that's okay. It's a process, and what you want to end up with is a dough that's silky smooth, that you touch it and it almost feels like skin. That is moist, but it's not sticky. So let's see, here we go.
Deb, how much water did you add?
I think we've got 60 seconds. So wait a second, I gotta show you. When you pull it out of your Cuisinart, pull it out with the dough, the blade will just come away. You don't want to mess with the blade because it's sharp. And there it is. It's our beautiful dough.
Deb?
And wait a second, take your dough and clean out your work bowl. Then you have to clean it too much later. Robin, did you have a question for me?
I do. People feel like it was really fast. Like I didn't hear how much water. Could you repeat the whole thing again? Just like how much of each?
I'll repeat it, but I can't undo the dough. Bear with me.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to put in our Cuisinart or in our mixing bowl 4.5 cups of flour. All-purpose is not as good. Unbleached is going to give you a chewier bread, but either is fine. You're going to put in 2-3 tablespoons of sugar if you eat sugar. If not, just stay tuned. You're going to put in a fat tablespoon, a heaping tablespoon of yeast, and you're going to put in a scant tablespoon of salt. So there you go. Now,
No, but you never said the water. How much water?
well, oh, so sorry. Just 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. Are we back? Are we talking? Sorry. So those are our dry ingredients. Our wet ingredients are an egg and a couple tablespoons of oil and water to equal almost 2 cups of liquid. Now, if you don't eat sugar, but you prefer agave, you prefer maple or whatever you prefer, that figures in the proportion of the liquid. But you're always adding almost 2 cups of liquid to 4.5 cups of dry ingredients, which is flour, sugar, yeast, salt. So that's kind of what we're doing. Now that's gorgeous. I want you to add, Zoe, I want you to add a little bit of flour. That's gorgeous. Okay. New York is checking in with gorgeous dough. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take your dry ingredients, put them in your Cuisinart, put on the lid, turn on the motor, pour in your liquid ingredients right into that feed tube and let it knead. It will form a clump, which will clump and clump and clump. It needs to knead that clump for 60 seconds, no more, and you're done. If you're making it by hand, you need a 20-minute knead, which is good for the arms. But you're kneading with the strong part of your hands, your heels, not your fingers. The heels of your hands, because that's the strength, right? And if you get tired of doing it on a bowl, you can always throw your dough out onto a low surface like a kitchen table, and that makes the kneading easier because counters are higher than tables, typically. Okay. How are we doing? Robin? Whoa. Okay, here's my gorgeous dough. It feels just like skin. It's moist, it's alive, and you take it and you have a bowl, a glass bowl. And that glass bowl should be sprayed with a non-stick cooking spray. And you put in that dough. That dough is this far up and it's gonna rise to this high up. And that's your dough, okay? Now that puny dough with about a wait of an hour to an hour and a half becomes this fluffy thing. Okay? Can you see that it's fluffy? Can you see the air? It's really very fluffy and lovely. You're going to take this fluffy thing and you're going to make 2 medium-sized challahs. So I'm going to get down a board, a cookie sheet, and we're going to do that right now. This is an awful looking cookie sheet, which means somebody really likes it a lot and uses it all the time. And what you do is you take that cookie sheet and you spray it with a non-stick spray, or you can just put parchment on it. And then what I like to do, because I like crunch, is I take cornmeal and I put it in 2 little lines so that any place my bread hits, it's sitting on cornmeal, which helps it not stick. So just 1 second, and I'll show you. So there it is. Okay, so I've got 2 columns of cornmeal, right? Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this dough, one sec. I'm gonna take this dough and I'm gonna just dump it out on my counter like this. Right? So there it is, it's on my counter, right? And I'm gonna cut it in half so I can make 2 loaves. And if you want, you can use a loaf pan. You don't have to use a big pan. But I'm gonna do this, and instead of making a braided challah, I'm gonna do something that I always do, which is a bit of a throwback to me art class in the 1st grade where they tell you to make a snake. You make a skinny end of your snake and you make the fat end of your snake, and you take your snake and you tie it in a knot, and this comes out the top, and there's my snake. Should I do it again? Let's do it again. So I'm going to take my dough and I'm going to make my snake. There's going to be a skinny end and there's going to be a big end. It's going to be like this kind of snake. If you want a size, it's 16, 18. It's probably 21 or 22 inches. Take the skinny end, wrap it around, and a little piece comes out, and that's, woo, that's your center. And if you want to, you can go around back and you can grab it and just squeeze it so none of the parts come apart. You see that? So you squeeze the parts of your coil and the front stays gorgeous, but the back is locked in. So you take that and you put it down on your tray. So here's my tray. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, so there's your things. And what we're gonna do, I know this sounds like I'm using a lot of Pam here, but I give it just a gentle hit with the Pam so it doesn't stick to my beautiful breads, because I don't want them to be stressed out by the Pam. And I'm gonna take that Pam, take that, I'm gonna take saran wrap, throw it over, and this is gonna rise like this. Now, here's a question. There are people who say, when I let dough rise, I cover it with a cloth because I don't want to waste saran wrap. I feel what they're saying. However, that dough is all moist and it starts rising and it rises right up into your towel and sticks and makes a mess. So I don't recommend it. So here's this. This is going to rise for about an hour and a quarter, right? And I'm going to put that aside right now. Now,
I have a question for you. This is Robin.
I know.
What was your first, how long was your first rise in the glass bowl?
So let's talk about that for a minute. That will vary. It really depends on the heat of the room you're in and the heat of the water that you use. If you use hot water, you will ruin your yeast and it will never rise because yeast only likes it so hot. If you use cold water, I mean, it's really like the three bears. If you use cold water, it's just going to take forever. If you use baby bath water, tepid water, or a little warmer, but not hot, not at all hot, it should take, in a warm environment, about an hour to an hour and a half max. Now, some people say, well, if that's the case, I'll heat it in my oven. These are not very good tasting breads. They taste like over yeasted, you know? So you really want to just use a tepid water, and you want your room to be a normal room temperature. You know, if you're in a really hot room, it might take you 45 minutes. If you're in a really cool room, it might take you an hour and 45 minutes. So you have to watch it. You can't just leave home. Anyways, this week nobody can leave home anyway, so, you know, it's fine, I guess. So, anyways, so there goes your bread. You're taking it, your first rise is just this guy, the one that we just made, and it's going to get big. It's going to get really nice, but this will take it, as I said, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, all the way possibly to 2 hours. Now, let's go through a scenario. Let's say you really only have 3 hours to put into this enterprise. You can use slightly more yeast, which is not to say 2 tablespoons. You could put in an extra half a teaspoon, even a teaspoon, and it will rise quicker. It may not rise as beautifully, but it will rise quicker. So if you need to, you can do that. Did that basically address the question? Hello?
Yes, that addressed the question. Somebody's asking if David can send us all the steps. So do you have like the recipe written down that David can later send to everybody?
I emailed it to you.
Okay. And I'll email it to the Beth Jacob community.
Right, so no worries. We'll get you that. Don't bother about writing things down or anything like
Robin,
that.
just send it to me now and I'll post it right here in the chat while everybody's still here.
Well,
Right.
I don't have it.
Lovely.
What is Debby?
Okay, so there's that, and I'm going to actually take my dough that I just now made, that you saw me make. It's already risen, you know, probably 10-20%, and you know, it's already starting to loosen. It's really beautiful what happens. So there's that. Now,
Deb, how many challahs does this make?
so, you know, I never make this little, so it's kind of a tricky question for me. But what I've got here, you can see, can you see these 2 challahs?
Yeah.
That was from the 4.5 cups. So what I would call that is probably 2 medium challahs. In other words, feeds probably 6 to 8 people. Is 4 cups of flour, right? Figure about 1/2 cup per person, maybe 1/3 to 1/2 cup a person. And that's really how you do it.
Got it.
Oh, I see Zoe is ready to make sourdough. She's activated her gluten. 1/2 cup of flour. Okay, so that's basically what's happening there. Now, what you do when you, true confessions, I started about 20 minutes later than I should have, and my house is kind of cold because somebody turned off my heater because they thought it would be nice without the heater, which is a good suggestion. But what's going to happen is I'm going to show you these breads, and then I'm going to bake them, and we're all going to meet back here at 6 or whatever time Robin says, and all the beautiful breads will be on display. So I'm just going to walk you through here. This is my dough, right? And you can see that it's about 1 inch higher than the edge of my pan. This is a very deep pan, but it's only an inch higher. And I know from experience that it should really, when you're rising your dough, after you've shaped it, you've made it a knot, you've made it a coil, you've made it whatever, and it's rising, you want it to almost look about the size it's going to be. But you don't want it to start to sprawl, because then it loses definition. So when I'm looking at this, and I know that I need another 45 minutes to an hour of having this rise. Once it's risen, you take one egg yolk and you mix it with a tablespoon of water. You mix it together. Realize when you're using an egg, the egg will have little white things that attach it to the white of the egg. Take off those little white slimy things and throw out the white too, or make an egg white omelet. But you're going to be left with this. Mix it with water thoroughly. And you're going to use this with a paintbrush, which actually you can get them at Williams-Sonoma. I happen to get mine at Home Depot. Everybody's got a different take on this. Or you can use the silicone ones, which are really nice. Use this, paint it, and then I sprinkle this on my challah. I put pumpkin seeds. I put whole sunflower seeds. I put sesame seeds. I put poppy seeds, and I put my favorite, anise seeds. But that's the risky one. Not everybody likes anise. So you put these on, you pop it in a preheated 30 minutes, but don't let the timer turn off. Watch it. You're looking for golden brown. You're not looking for beige. You're looking for golden brown. You're not looking for black either. So when it gets that way, you take it gently out of the oven, set it in a safe spot. Within about 4 or 5 minutes, it'll be cool enough. Shift it a little bit and put it on a rack to cool. Now, here's the interesting thing. Once this bread is stone cold, you can wrap it in foil, double wrap it in foil, put it in a little bag, and write challah, March 18th, 2020, and put it in your freezer and enjoy it before Passover. But if it wasn't for Passover, you really have 2 weeks to a month to eat it, because you've double wrapped it in foil and you've put it in a plastic bag. And if nobody gets at it and eats it before it, you can have it really a month later, even 2. So if anybody wants to join me back here at 6:30, we can look at all these breads. And please ask me your questions. I am here waiting for them. Uh-oh, everybody's mic's turned off. That is so not okay.
The question is, Debbie, do you want the questions in voice? I can unmute everybody, or do you want them to type it in the chat?
Let's unmute everybody.
Okay, give me 1 second.
All at once.
Okay, there you go.
I'm sorry, what temperature were you cooking the bread on?
You know, that's a very interesting question. You know, 350. But you don't have to. I want to do more classes like this, and we'll go into that. But for right now and for starters, always 350. Always preheated. And if you look at your bread, say my bread is this tall, and this is the middle. You want the middle of your bread in the middle of your oven. So you put your tray so that the middle of your bread, as it's going to rise, so you know it's going to rise, so it's going to be a little low of center, and then it doesn't burn on the top, and it's not raw underneath. 350. For right now, 350. What we're going to do, maybe we'll do another class, and we'll show how that, like a lot of rules, depends. Yes. Wait, we got a question here.
Yeah.
I don't know your name. Wait a second. What's her name? Anna Spira has a question.
Oh, is it convection or plain oven?
Say it again.
Oh, convection or plain oven?
Oh, so there's a brilliant question. Plain. You know, I'll tell you, I love convection. And if for whatever reason things aren't browning, toward the end of the bake, I'll switch to convection. But I've got people here who complain they can tell the difference and that it dries the dough. Question.
About how long in the oven?
Say it again?
About how long in the oven?
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm gonna sit down for this one. Here's the thing. The way it goes is this. If you're making big challahs, you know, like these are kind of big, they're massive, they're about this big. So that's really 30 to 35 minutes, depending on your oven. But say you want to make lots of little challahs and take them for lunches and eat them for breakfast and just, so maybe you're going to make them in a muffin tin, right? And you're going to make 24 little baby muffins or 12. This recipe is really like 12. So say you make 12 little muffins. So you take your muffin tin, pan, you spray it with you put a little cornmeal at the bottom of each one. And then you divide your dough carefully into 12ths. Again, and make your little snakes, tie them in a knot, put them in their little muffin tins. And you're going to cook that not at 350. If you're doing little guys in a muffin tin, you're going to cook that at maybe, I hate to say it, but you're going to maybe cook it at 400, but you're not going to leave the room, and you're going to be attuned to your sense of smell in case you burn anything, but you won't. So you're going to cook it for probably, you're going to start watching it at 15 minutes, but it's going to go about 20 until it's really beautiful. Now, there's one caveat. If your pan is black, if your muffin tin is black, or if it has a coating, Teflon style, don't go that hot because it'll burn. Questions?
I have a question.
Another quarter cup of flour, so.
I have a question.
So I'm going to tell you something, which I'm actually kind of focusing in on my niece because see her, and I'm looking at her dough, and I keep asking her to add a little bit more flour. And what happens, the most typical bread making question or problem all revolve around, those problems revolve around one thing, and that's measuring. And it is very tricky to measure flour. So if you see that things are kind of gloppy and you want it to hang together like a dough like mine, but it's kind of like a glop, you need to add more flour. And you also need to be cognizant that when you measure flour, you need to make sure that you're really filling that cup, not tamping it down, filling it and keep it with a knot.
Debbie,
I'm waiting for a question.
I have a question. The amount of flour that you use, is that enough for a bracha? How many pounds is that?
Oh, goodness. There's a question. No. Now, the bracha, of course, like most things, it varies by your tradition. Now, for Ashkenaz Jews, I think it's something like 4 pounds, 3 or 4 ounces. But you wouldn't want to make a vain blessing on something like that. So you would typically use your 5-pound bag. Now, with the flour that Robin gave me, I pretty much used it up, and I would have used every single bit of it had I, used it to flour my pans, but I didn't. But I came probably within an ounce or 2, maybe 3 of the limit. So I can make a bracha. If you're using a 5-pound bag of flour, you can make that bracha. Now, the question is, at what point must you make that bracha? And for that, you need to ask your local Orthodox rabbi.
So the 4.5 cups is equal to the 5-pound bag?
No, no, you need 4.5 cups is about 1/3 of a bag. So you need to make 3 batches like this, or you can't make the bracha. Now, you could weigh it, and you could look it up online, and you'll find out more exactly. And I don't want any empty brachas on my tab. So look it up, But basically, you've used almost an entire bag of flour, like this fancy flour robin. You use almost a whole 5-pound bag, you're in good shape. But read it, make sure you know.
So you make 3 batches, put them together and make the bracha?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, you're making a lot of flour. Say you have whole wheat or something left. You can put up to 1.5 cups of whole wheat and not have to realign your yeast. If you want to do that, you can do different flavors. You can make all that dough and make cinnamon buns for the kids and challahs for this one and breadsticks for that one. You can do whatever you want, but I think it's not in the purview of this class to go into all those things.
Thank you.
Question? I see
Yes.
Michelle has a question, but I can't call on her.
Can you hear me?
I have a question. Hello.
Yeah?
My mixture came out very, very moist, very
Okay.
sticky.
Let's talk about that.
Can you go ahead with that, or do you have to add flour?
No. You have to mix it right. Do you have more flour? Do you have more flour?
Yes. Yes.
Use it. So if it's
Okay.
really sticky, add flour about 1/4 cup at a time until it looks like my dough, and then you're in good shape. And then knead it in. Are you kneading by hand?
I used the mixer initially, and then I went by hand.
Beautiful. Keep adding until it looks like my dough, until it's a nice ball and it's smooth and silky. But you're really talking about a 20-minute knead, and every time you add to that flour, add more flour to that dough, every time you add, you need to knead it in. So you got some work. It'll be good workout. You know, it's good for the arms and stuff.
Outstanding.
You are getting there.
Debbie,
Yep.
Thank
Yes.
if I want to make 4 small pull-aparts from
Yes.
this, let's say in 6-inch, 6-inch aluminum foil pans.
Okay.
How long do I bake that?
So if you want to make that many pull-aparts, 6-inchers, you're only doing a batch and a half of this dough.
Well, it's only 2 of us at home. I don't need to make a house.
So you're going to look at the dough that you make, and I think you can make 2 or 3 of those, but you can't make more. Probably 2 is really what you're doing.
What about you're making 2 big challahs from this?
They're not big. This pan is a 6-inch pan. It's just tall.
Uh-huh.
But it's taller than yours will be. So you can make 2 for sure. How's that?
And adjust the heat?
The heat, 350.
At 350 and do it a half hour?
Yeah, but you need to preheat your oven. If you put it in a cold oven, it's going to be a different thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Michelle, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. So it had to do with that sticky stuff. I think, could you repeat the liquid ingredient? Like, where does the water fall in?
Okay.
I think I put
This is
2
what you do. You've
Yeah.
got a measuring cup.
Yeah.
First thing goes in is an egg.
Yeah.
Then you put in 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil, according to your taste. It can be canola oil, grapeseed oil, olive oil if you don't mind the flavor. But you put in oil. And then that same cup, which now you've filled a little bit less than half of a cup, fill it up to like 1 cup and 7/8 with water.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that was such a good. Because once you get that, you've got it.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
Deb,
how are we doing?
I have a question.
question-wise?
I have one more question. So your second rise, after you've let it rise in the glass pan, you've taken it out, you've made your snake, you've made your braid, you put it in the pan. How long do you let it rise for the second rise?
So this is a big deal. Okay. If you let it rise, say 20 minutes to a half an hour, you're going to stunt its growth. Okay. If you let it rise 3 hours, you're going to get something gross, disgusting, and flopping all over your pan. So we have a sweet spot in the middle. So let's talk about that just for a moment, okay? What happens is you need to look at that bread, and it will look beautiful up until a point that it will look sloppy. When it's just kind of how you're almost wanting it to be, quickly do the egg coat, quickly put the seeds, and gently put it in the oven. You're good.
And what's that generally? About what time? How long?
Usually it's about 45 to 50 minutes, but it's not always, but that's usually what it is.
Okay, so an hour and a half for the first rise and 40 to 50 minutes for the second rise.
1 sec. So that's good. Give me 10 minutes. 10-minute need. Okay, sorry. Say it again, Robin.
So an hour and a half for the first rise and about 40 to 50 minutes for the second rise.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
What Cuisinart machine would you recommend, Debbie?
So here's the thing. Back when Bed Bath had a really great return policy, I'd say get a 14 cup and return it when it breaks. However, it's, you know, they're tightening up on us. So you really have to decide. You know, there are people getting the Bosch and saying it's wonderful. If I get another machine, it may well be a Bosch. But for the moment, I'm very happy with my 14 cup. Now, there's a new one that has a 16 cup, a 12 cup, and an 8 cup. But the sides are not vertical, the sides are thin, and it doesn't knead well. So don't get the new kind with the 3 cups. Get the old body. It's about $170. You get a 20% coupon, and it's great. And that's really how it goes. And you need, I think at this point it's probably the same on Amazon as it is to get it from Bed Bath. Or you can get it at Bloomingdale's, a lot of places, but for price, that's fine. And the 14 cup is the size that I love. If somebody offered me a 20 cup, I would be thrilled because you know how it is, but I don't have a 20 cup.
Is it easy to clean?
Yes, Spira. We have a question from Spira.
Can you do half the amount in a 7-cup Cuisinart?
Oh, a 7-cup Cuisinart. No, this will break it. You have to get somebody with a lot of extra energy and get them to knead it for you or knead it yourself. I like to delegate that kind of thing.
Well, I have bread makers too.
You have a bread maker? Use it. Use it. Bread makers do an outstanding texture. Outstanding. And then you're going to form it yourself and you're going to put it in the oven. The problem with the bread maker is you're never going to get enough dough to make that bread. You know, you go and you go and you go, but it's the poor bread maker, it's only going to give you so much. What is it, like 3-4 cups, 2-3 cups? So not going to happen, but that's the only serious negative there. But I find the texture outstanding. Actually, I find myself really envious, but I'm hooked. Questions? Any questions? Stop, you're good. Excuse me, I have to say something to my niece. You're fine. Put it to rise in a bowl. Grease a bowl, put it in, cover it. Okay, all right. Questions, more questions. Oh, Sarah. Okay, she's great. All right, so where's my other questions? What else is going on?
Wait, so what am I supposed to do with the bowl?
You know, you're going to spray it with Pam or grease it with oil. You're going to put your dough into the bowl. This is a good point. Put the dough into the greased bowl. Take the dough, very little oil, very little, very little. You're going to flip your dough over. So now the bottom of your dough is also greased, right?
Oh, okay.
So you grease the bowl, you put in the dough, you flip the dough, and you cover it with foil, with saran wrap for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. And that's really how it is. Now, we have talked so long that this is now gorgeous and ready to paint. Can I do that?
Yeah,
I can
paint.
do that, right? Here we
Yes.
go.
Can I ask
So,
you something? If I want
wait,
to,
Michelle.
yeah, I'm just sorry. If I don't want to do the challah now, let's say I want to make more and add to it, putting it in the refrigerator slows it down, right?
Yes, it does. Let's talk about that for a minute, because that is a good question for people who like have fixed times that they can cook or not cook. The question is, if I make dough, can I stick it in the fridge? The answer is, yes, you can. The negative is that it may taste slightly more yeasty or beer-like, which people hate. But what you do, remember we talked about the temperature of water? You have more time, so you need less heat. Make it with cool water, regular tap water. The second it's done, you put in that grease bowl, bam, right in the fridge, covered with saran wrap. When you go to pull it out, it will be risen and stunning. It will look like this. And you will realize that you did the genius thing of retarding the growth by temperature. That's perfect. I wish everybody could see that. That's great. Yeah. So that's what you do. And so say you wanted to make your dough tonight, but you want to make your challah tomorrow. Can do. You just take that dough, stick it in the fridge, and when you wake up in the morning, it will be filling that thing up. If it doesn't, if it's like a late bloomer, just pull it out and it'll fill it up. Because let me tell you something about this yeast that we use. It is industrialized product. That stuff will work unless it's dead, unless you killed it with hot water. It will persevere and it will grow.
Debbie, when we've got it covered, do we
Yeah.
put it in the fridge or just leave it somewhere to rise?
When would you like to bake it?
Tonight.
But it's late. It's 8 o'clock. Okay. So leave it out in the warm on a counter. And it is now 8 o'clock by probably, I don't know, how warm is your apartment? 70?
Probably.
In 2 hours, it'll be ready to knock it down, form it, and then you'll bake it.
Okay.
Questions? More questions?
I didn't see what kind of yeast you used because we were in the wrong room. Unfortunately, got the wrong code. I hope you
Oops.
repeat.
So let me just tell you, my favorite kind of yeast is safe yeast. It's called Safe Yeast, SAF. I think it's a Canadian product. And you get it at Smart and Final in a little half-kilo brick. It is hard as a rock. You cut it, and it's powder. You take that powder, you put it in a jar with a screw-on lid, and you freeze it. And it will stay for 4 months. And you can use it little by little by little, or you can go to Ralph's and buy those little envelopes, but I have a hard time dumping them out, and I bake a lot. You can buy the little jars at Ralph's. Those are a lot more money. You just go buy $3, $4 at Smart and Final. You get a ton of it. If you have a good friend, split it with them.
How much yeast
One
did you
piece of advice, if you go to Target, they're 99 cents for 3. You can
Okay,
buy the
so
little
but those are
package.
very hard to dump out. I always buy in quantity. If you know someone like me, just call me and say, can I have some yeast? Particularly this week. Anybody wants yeast, come to my house. We'll leave it out on the porch. Anyways, try not to go buy yeast at this time of the year. I believe you have to get rid of that too. Did we cover everything? Oh my goodness. Well, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stand up with my Home Depot paintbrush and my egg wash, which is 50% water, 50% soap. I'm gonna gently, gently, gently paint this. If you paint it really hard, you'll ruin that beautiful loft. So you do that, and make sure that none of your yolk or your egg wash goes down into the pan because it'll be sticky. And then take your little seeds, your pumpkin seeds, which I just get plain old raw pumpkin seeds like at Smart and Final. Sorry, Smart and Final at Trader Joe's. Put your pumpkin seeds, and then put your sunflower seeds, and the reason that I put a lot of seeds on my breads is because you get these people that that's all they really like about bread. That's not me, I'm just saying some people. And then put your sesame seeds. I put as many anise seeds as I can manage. And then you can put poppy seeds if you want them. And what I try to do is I try to make it so that every little inch of that top surface has a beautiful different flavor. So there it is. Oops, it's pouring out all over my house. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in the oven right now. And so its middle is the oven's middle.
Are the proportions the same if you're doing it in a bread machine?
What proportions? Tell me again.
Of 4.5 cups of...
Oh, you have to use the directions in your bread machine. Most bread machines that I've seen use right around 3 cups. So you're gonna have to adjust this recipe. This 3 cups, right, is 2/3 of a recipe. So
Okay.
instead of using almost 2 cups, you're gonna use 2/3 of 2 cups, which is 1 2/3 cups, just a little bit less. So that's how much water, and everything else, you know, use a tablespoon of yeast instead of a fat tablespoon. Use a teaspoon and a half of salt. You'll be fine. And it'll probably be delicious also. By the way, some people like to add things like sour cherries, raisins, cranberries. If you want to do that, it's important that you do not put those things in the Cuisinart because they will be demolished and they will make a big mess. You get your dough, you let it rise the first time, and when you dump it out, before you make your snake, make it real thin, put all your little fruits, roll it up, and then make your snake. But handle it as little as possible. After you've done that, let it rest for about 15 minutes, and then make your snake. A lot less work. I need another question. I think we may be done here. So can we circle back at 6:30 and I'll have, oh, we got a question.
Debbie, what does it look like when it's done? Like how do you know like when to take it out of the oven? Like what do you look for?
Okay, here's what you look for. When you've got bread in the oven, the trick is that it should all be cooked. And the fact that it's filled up with air, which is what we've been doing this whole time, makes it a really easy thing to cook. So you can, unless you're doing an enormous bread in an industrial oven, you can pretty much bet that if it's golden brown, you know, golden brown, and by brown, I mean like this kind of color, you know, the darkest it should be is this. If it's that color, you're going to take it out. Remember I told you, wait about 4 minutes and move it onto a rack? If you have your doubts, turn it over a little bit, look at the bottom of your bread, thump, thump, thump. If it goes knock, 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 it's done. If it goes boom, 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 really soft, it's probably not. And so just give it another 5, yes.
What should I put it on if I don't have a rack?
To cool?
Yeah.
The grate of your stove.
Like the stove being still hot, just like leave it.
No, the stove. The stove.
Oh no, yeah, we have like a glass top.
So then just do something where you take some sticks and give it a place to sit on.
Okay.
It just wants to be, otherwise it steams. You don't want it to steam because your crust is going to be maybe your favorite part if you're like me, which I figure you are. So the crust might be your favorite part. But then again, if you really do a good job on your dough, which you did, you are going to be able to peel off pieces of your challah like string cheese because your gluten is way activated. It's going to be amazing. Okay. Do I have any more questions, or are we going to see each other at 6:30?
And you do
Whoever's
this.
making bread, I want to know how it's going. So let me know.
1 second, Debbie. Again, if you want to come back at 6:30, we have to use the other ID because the shul has Mincha and Marav starting at 6:45.
Well,
So
what time do you want us to come back?
you can come then, but we'll send out
Oh
at
no, I'm not coming without you. Tell me what time. You want to do this at 8?
8 o'clock then.
8 o'clock, everybody? Good. And Zoe's is going to be done by then, and I can't wait. Anybody who has bread, bring it to the party. We got to see. See you at 8, everybody. Have a great
Thank
evening.
you, Deb.
Thank you. Thank you.
My
Thank you.
pleasure. Thank you all.
You, David.
Not scary at all. Human race. That is a beautiful thing. It's not a warning. It's not a punishment. It's not.